Hello, everyone, and welcome to another live stream here on the channel for the Black Hood Crew. I am your host slash chauffeur, BHCxDark. My name is always here in the corner. As always, you can follow along on YouTube and Facebook at the Black Hood Crew. Then follow along at my name directly on Twitch, Twitter, Steam, Trovo, TikTok, Instagram. So it is Tuesday, May 30th of 2023, and I'm on my way to work. It is a partly cloudy day, but the sun is out in full force. It is hot. Hot outside. So if you plan on being outdoors today, at least here in South Florida, please make sure you stay covered up. Get plenty of fluids. Water is best. And if you don't have anywhere to go, please don't go anywhere. Stay indoors because it's hot. So yesterday was a typical busy Monday, even though it was Memorial Day and people should not have been where they were. But instead, where they were was in my ER. Now, for those of you that don't know or don't follow the news or anything like that, there was a shooting not too far from where my hospital is in the city of Hollywood, specifically Hollywood Beach. Now, Hollywood Beach from my hospital is literally due east about maybe 5 miles or so, not even. And supposedly 9 people were hurt. I did not hear of any fatalities, but we did get the alert that the more critical injured people would be sent to our main facility, and the less critical patients would be sent to our facility, basically due to our proximity to the location of the incident. No other reason. So that happened. Now, thankfully, we didn't actually get anybody in our hospital. So that means the people weren't as critical. What are you doing? It turns out that maybe the people that were injured that weren't as critical were literally not critical enough to need an emergency room for care. So I'm guessing that's good news. Where the hell is this guy going? He just ran a red light. Great. Idiots. Anyway, so this happened. I don't have much else other than there were young people involved as victims. That's never a good sign. But unfortunately, with the way that this country is right now, there's only one thing you can say. It is what it is. So, to continue from yesterday, as I continue to dive into The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, I am in awe, absolute awe, of the massive undertaking that Nintendo had with this title. I honestly don't know how the hell they can top it. I honestly don't know. Because they threw everything into this. Everything that made Breath of the Wild great is back. Everything that has normally made Zelda games great is back. They threw everything into this game. It is absolutely huge. Not just from a map standpoint, because again, I reiterate, there are 3 maps in the game. The Hyrulean Overworld, the Sky Islands, and the Depths. But there's so much more than just the size of the maps. You have the world itself moving about. You have the amount of quests, things to do, places to explore, enemies to fight, both above, middle, and below. And there's just so much you can do that, I mean, someone said, someone online, I think that it came down to that conservatively, it would take 96 hours to 100% Tears of the Kingdom. The worst timing in the world, dude. 96 hours to do a 100% run of Tears of the Kingdom. That means every item, every area explored, every Korok found, everything. That's full 100% completion. Now, I'm not entirely sure how accurate that is, given that the game has only been out for about a couple weeks. But we, like I said before, we do have already people speedrunning the game. So there's that. But this isn't the type of game to speedrun. You know what I mean? Like, what makes this game great is the fact that you don't have to do anything. Nothing is forced on you. Take this path, take that path, fight this boss, fight that enemy, kill this person, kill that person, use this item, use that item. You're not forced into anything. Just like how Breath of the Wild before it allowed for the use of imagination to reach locations, to complete objectives. They just took that concept and dialed it to 11. Like, you can't, like, there is a laid out solution. There is a solution that was intended by the developers for puzzle completion, quests, things of that nature. There is a developer made solution for all of it. But because of the abilities, specifically Ultra Hand and its ability to fuse overworld items together to create essentially whatever the hell you want, you take that ability, Ultra Hand, and combine it with the multitude and variety of Zonai devices available. There are now an infinite number of solutions. You are only limited by the materials available to you. That's it. Imagination be damned. You can essentially do whatever the hell you want. I'll give you a perfect example. There was one where, and this was a shrine. So the final room of the shrine had a body of water ahead of me. That was too far to swim. Even with full 3 rings of stamina, it would be impossible to swim across. Link would drown before he reached the end. So instead, they offer you a set of logs and some fan Zonai devices. And fans, pretty nifty. Whatever you attach them to, you hit it to turn it on, immediately starts blowing with enough force to get you moving in the opposite direction that the wind is blowing. So this is especially useful if you like make a boat, put it in the back, and the fan's facing back. The moment you hit them, you take off. But at that point, I had accumulated, because I don't know if I would need them later, a massive amount of tree logs. Right from the beginning, they offer you tree logs as makeshift bridges. But I had accumulated so many that I was like, to hell with it. I'm not going to use the fans. I'll just keep attaching logs and make a giant bridge across the room. So that's what I did. I basically attached a bunch of logs, enough logs, end to end, to span the body of water. And all I did was just walk across. I could have built a boat, or I could have built something else if I had maybe a more variety of Zonai devices available at that time. But this was a shrine I tackled kind of early, so I didn't have many Zonai devices in inventory, or at least a variety of Zonai devices in inventory. So I figured, hey, just make a bridge, get it over with. And that's what I did. Now, again, like I said, could there have been another way to do it? Absolutely. Even without the use of the fans, or maybe use the fans in a different fashion. Could have definitely done that. The ability to create so many varieties of vehicles and creations, both transportation and for attack, or just in general to get around, is mind-boggling. Like, I've seen so many variations of flying machines, cars, motorcycles, machines of war. Like, I've seen many things. And this is literally all coming from the imaginations of the players. And some of it is just for a laugh. Like, I saw one guy knock over a Bokoblin leader, take his weapon, and as the Bokoblin leader got up and got angry, started running toward him, he essentially dropped, not running at him. He left another item, another weapon on the ground, basically a planted weapon, waited for the Bokoblin to go for the weapon, to then literally spring a trap that dropped down and exploded, killing the Bokoblin. They're literally using Looney Tunes concepts, imaginations, and thought process, and incorporating it into Tears of the Kingdom in just the goofiest possible way to deal with enemies. Now, that's not to say there's not more direct approaches. I saw somebody make a plane, loaded it up with auto-pointing Zonai devices, attached bomb launchers to those, and basically just flew from above and rained down hell. Completely destroyed an entire Bokoblin camp without swinging their sword. I mean, no other game can give you that kind of satisfaction, that kind of ingenuity, that kind of ability. Now, don't get me wrong, there are going to be great games out this year. I mean, Elden Ring came out earlier this year. Did it? No, it came out late last year. No, it was earlier this year. No? Last year. Elden Ring was great. Spider-Man 2 is coming out soon. Like, there are great games. I personally have not played Hogwarts Legacy, so I have no idea how it actually is. I know somebody that's played it. They're not ranting and raving about it. So I'm guessing this is more of a, if you're a big Harry Potter fan, by all means, give it a shot. But I'm not, so I won't. But they all of them, pale in comparison to Tears of the Kingdom. There is just so much in this game. I mean, come on. Like, I'm sure you've all seen it. The TikToks, the YouTube videos, the short clips here and there of just the ridiculous things that people have done in Tears of the Kingdom. And not just even for the sake of just completing a quest or, solving a puzzle or even getting from A to B. It's literally, what's the craziest thing that I can do? I'll give you another perfect example. In Breath of the Wild, there was a champion's ability from the Rito champion, Revali, called Revali's. Revali allowed you, as Link, to create an updraft that you can ride at any time. No fire, no special anything, just you use the technique and you suddenly were soaring upwards. It made traversing unclimbable surfaces much easier. It made the ability to glide over expanses, large expanses, easier. So it was a very nifty ability to have. In Tears of the Kingdom, Revali is no longer around, especially since he was killed in Breath of the Wild, or at least 100 years before even Breath of the Wild started. So his ability is no longer available. Revali's Gale is nowhere to be found in Tears of the Kingdom. But someone said, or they thought, what can I do as a replacement to gain that vertical distance? So what they did is using auto build, which is another ability, entirely optional, by the way. This is an optional ability found in Tears of the Kingdom that would allow you to save things you created before or build based on a blueprint that is supplied by the game or by an NPC in this case, to then automatically build an appropriate device without having to, one, look for the appropriate parts, and two, spend the time actually doing the attachments yourself. Auto build lets you skip all of that. You basically pick your blueprint, hit build, ta-da, you now have a functioning Zonai device of your own creation. You can also save and favorite custom creations, so things you've made, into the list of devices that are available to build inside of auto build. One such device that somebody created, as I was saying, in a way to recreate the effect of Revali's Gale, which is the ability to traverse a great distance of height in almost an instance. So, using auto build and a build of his own creation before, he basically stacked floating platforms and logs vertically on each other. Very long one, right? Now, these platforms, when struck, they're engaged. They will hold their position in space. They will not fall. They will not slide through the air unless acted upon in a different way. They will hold their position. Because of this, they make great platforms for reaching other places or building, say, a bridge that has to a very large space, but you don't really have anywhere to attach the bridge to. You can attach it to these platforms, engage them, and they'll basically hold their place in space. But this guy stacked them vertically, so it's platform, log, all the way up. He did it for a very long distance. He put it up in the air, hit it to engage the bottommost platform, which, because it's connected to the other ones with the logs, engaged all the platforms. So now he has essentially this floating tower, literally floating there, just sitting there. And what he did is at the very bottom, underneath the bottommost platform, using the ascend ability, he basically ascended up through that bottom platform and through every log and platform all the way to the top. He had spanned a great vertical distance in an almost instant using a pre-built Zonai device and auto build and ascend to overcome the lack of Revali's Gale. When I saw that, I was like, really? 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 He did it. He did it. He essentially replaced Revali's Gale with a mechanical solution. Brilliant. And again, it's just one of many crazy and over-the-top things you can create in Tears of the Kingdom. I personally have not done anything to that degree, to that insane level yet. But I have built things here and there that are unconventional, but that ultimately work. And that's ultimately what it comes down to, is use what's available, couple with your imagination, and get it done. At this point, the developers do not care. After everything that has been made, seen, and executed in this game so far, that has at least made itself onto the internet, this one is, I think, the biggest one. All right, so Rain King chimes in down below from Twitch. Welcome. Says, in the Zelda franchise, which one you think it's the hardest, the top 3 hardest ones you think? So we're talking about most difficult Zelda games. I would say my top 3, in no particular order, most difficult Zelda games would be Zelda 1, Zelda 2, and Breath of the Wild. And the reason those three games start very similarly in the fact that there is no immediate direction. They're literally, you started the game, good luck, and that's it. Zelda 1 started you in the overworld with 3 directions to travel in and a single cave with no direction or instruction. You had to figure it out from there. And that made the game difficult right from the get-go. Zelda 2 did the exact same thing, but they also added the element of the 2D action sequences, which they themselves can be pretty difficult. And especially every dungeon is traversed in the 2D platformer style, as opposed to the overworld that you're normally used to, especially if you're coming from the original Zelda. And finally, Breath of the Wild does the exact same thing as the first Zelda game. They immediately drop you into a world, no instruction, no direction, and just say, figure it out. Now, you would probably be thinking, well, why didn't you say, Tears of the Kingdom, because it's very similar to Breath of the Wild? Well, it is a sequel to Breath of the Wild. So if you're coming from Breath of the Wild, you already have some sort of knowledge base to start with. Breath of the Wild had none. There was nothing like it. before. Yeah, I would say those would be my top 3 most difficult Zelda games, and again, in no particular order. See, Ring King says, I think it's Zelda 1, like I said, Twilight Princess, and Breath of the Wild. I'm surprised Twilight not on your list. I didn't find Twilight Princess to be difficult. Did it have its challenging parts? Yes, but overall, as an entire game, I did not find it to be as difficult as, say, Zelda 1, Zelda 2, or Breath of the Wild. Because again, and this is coming from a gameplay standpoint, Twilight Princess, for as much of a Zelda game it is very linear. You're essentially, the parts that are open world are literally just to get to the next objective. That's it. And essentially the next objective kind of pigeonholed you into where to go next. Like, you couldn't do like Breath of the Wild where you could tackle things in whatever order you wanted. Like even the SNES, like even the SNES game, A Link to the Past, is not an overall difficult game, but it does have its challenging points. But at least in that game, you can tackle the dungeons in whatever order you want. You just needed access, and you had to find that access. But with a game like Breath of the Wild and Zelda 1 and 2, you were dropped in the world and just said, figure it the hell out. And that's where the difficulty comes in. It's that initial, like, what the hell am I supposed to do? And you're constantly getting your ass handed to you as you play through the game. As you literally are just trying to figure out what the hell you're supposed to do, where the hell you're supposed to go, who the hell you're supposed to save, who the hell you're supposed to talk to. Like, that's what made those games difficult, is that even though Zelda 2 was a sequel to the original Zelda 1, Zelda 2 gave you an entire new overworld and included those 2D platform side-scrolling action and dungeon sequences that were far removed from the original Zelda, that kept you on your toes and made the game just that much more difficult, because you had to learn 2 different types of gameplay. You had the travel of the overworld with the action of the 2D side-scrolling platforming, and that made the game difficult. Breath of the Wild just took that to a whole new level with a much larger world, but again, it literally just dropped you in the world and said, good luck. No direction, no anything. There would be hints. Like the first Zelda was a perfect example of that initial hint. First map world had 3 directions to travel in and a single cave. The cave was begging to go into, begging for you to go into it. But there was no signage, no instruction that that's where you had to go. But by making it the only other way you can travel, besides the 3 map directions, made it worth exploring, and hence you find the first sword. Zelda 2 starts you off with a sword and shield and nothing else, and with no direction to travel. They just drop you in an overworld and say, goodbye, good luck. And that's where Breath of the Wild's difficulty curve comes from as well, is the fact that, again, you're dropped off in the middle of the world and told, dale, go on, figure it out. So ultimately, that's what made those games difficult. And I did not find Twilight Princess to be a difficult game. Very linear in many aspects, but not overly difficult. So it is my time. I will be back again tomorrow night from home as I play Apex Legends here on the channel for the Black Hood Crew. You can follow along on YouTube and Facebook at the Black Hood Crew. My name directly on Twitch, Twitter, Steam, Trovo, TikTok, Instagram. Until tomorrow night, 9 p.m., everyone, please be safe, be smart, and be excellent to each other.